One of my most strongly held beliefs is that we are all created in God's image, and that human life is sacred in all of its forms. And all of my life's work, all of my public record, all of my bills, all of my votes, all of my activities support that statement that that human life is sacred in all of its forms and that we are created in God's image. So, Mr. Speaker, I regret the heartburn that has poured forth upon this Congress and this country, and especially in my state and in my congressional district.
That was Steve King, Iowa congressman. And he's been quite a bit of hot water. It's time for the lid now. Panel is back. Shane Harris, Donna Edwards, Michael Steele. Just to remind you, this little new firestorm of Steve King began earlier this week. This is the quote he gave the New York Times. White nationalists, white supremacists, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? Mr. King said, why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? Well, that comment got a condemnation from Tim Scott in the Washington Post. More condemnations from your old boss, Jeb Bush, who said, essentially implied one would have the decency to resign. This is obviously Steve King trying to save his political career. Was that enough, Michael Steele?
No, it's not enough. And this is, I was reading the statement that his primary opponent put out when he got announced he was going to get involved early in there, and it sounded just like the statement or the attacks that Tim Hulskamp's opponent made against him. He's the only guy who's been successfully primaried for being too far to the right, kind of in the modern era. Right. And he was attacked successfully for being out of touch with his district and for not being able to deliver for his district because he's obsessed with some sort of bizarre Austrian white nationalist stuff rather than delivering for the farmers and small business people in his home district.
I find it interesting, Donna, that there is now, it seems to be a campaign on the right to get rid of Steve King that is more concerted than maybe some folks say, why didn't you do it 3 years ago, 4 years ago? But there now seems to be a real effort.
Yeah, I thought it was coming to the head during the recent election, but it's there now. And
he won. I think that's right. Frankly, I think a whole bunch of Republicans were secretly hoping. Not secretly. I mean,
no,
I think they were hoping the Democrat would win.
That's right.
To get rid of him. Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, it's really clear. I mean, Steve King really brings disrepute onto the House of Representatives. And I think, reading what Tim Scott wrote and, Republicans coming out, I think it's the right thing because I don't know how you recover your party if you've got somebody like that who gets to stand up and call themselves a Republican.
And just remember, Shane Harris, just to remind people, this wasn't his only sort of dalliance with this. He endorsed a white nationalist candidate for mayor of Toronto. He said after a meeting with a far-right group in Austria, what does this diversity bring that we don't already have? He compared torture in Abu Ghraib to just simply hazing. So he has earned these attacks from his own party.
Yeah, and it's sort of amazing it's only now coming to the front. I guess it's because you give a quote to the New York Times. And what was so striking about that comment, too, is what does Western civilization have to do with white nationalism?
And I love that's what Tim Scott asked. He goes, I don't.
It's like the argument is, in addition to being offensive, it's nonsensical.
Right. A proper understanding of the achievements of Western civilization implies an explicit rejection of white nationalism.
Exactly. Precisely.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.